Tinubu's administration, and we want to go ministry per ministry. Today, our focus will be on aviation. Let's also let you know that each time we go assess the minister, we may still bring such back. 46 of them will be under scrutiny for as long as 46 days on the show today, David.
Yes, a very key conversation. We need to know how well our ministers have done. Now, I mean, if you go along the street today and you ask just anyone on the street who their ministers are, you'll be shocked that some people don't even know who their ministers are. And then if you ask them, how has your ministers performed? They could tell you which ministers have performed for them. So that is the real essence why we have thought of this segment on the show. Today, we'll be looking at our aviation sector, which has been headed by none other than Festus Keyamo, SAN. A big conversation. We have Victor Ita joining us on this segment of the show. Victor, so good to have you this morning.
Very excited to be an happy Children's Day to all the children of the world and the nation. And we pray that things get better economically for the parents so that the children can as well fare well.
True. Very important. I mean, I'm sure you're making reference to our last conversation.
Yes, of course.
We just had where we identified the fact that parents would have to fare well before the children's rights would be retained. But then let's dive into our issues. The aviation sector for you. Victor, just give me an assessment of what you think had changed in the last 12 months within the aviation sector.
Not that much. I know some school of thought would argue that, and I also know that our guests on Zoom would also agree with me that you can't say that much about what has been going on in the aviation sector because it's been the only popular thing we've heard is that a license of an operator was suspended, and that is it. And we hear the minister paying visits to airports across the country and all of that. For what we see is action. There is no action, but there is more of a reactional approach to things, not proactive, approach to things. And one would say that just 1 year is not it. So give it 4 years, then you will know how the sector is faring. For me, it's I would say it's I will give them an assessment that is below being fair, below fair. Yes.
All right, so join in the conversation. The numbers should be on the screen right now. Call us and let us know what you feel with regards to the aviation sector in the last 1 year. You would argue that it's not up to a year that the ministers were appointed into to hold their portfolios, but the administration will clock one on May 29 and will start to count down to how much such ministries have fared under this dispensation. So let your calls keep coming in. We have joining us at this point in time virtually Oluyinka Oyeniyi, a public policy expert. Thank you very much for being part of the program today. Good morning to you.
Thank you for inviting me as well, and to the distinguished guests in the studio who reminded me it's Children's Day. Kudos to you. Every highlight should be on our children on a day like this. I'm hoping that someday it can be made a public holiday so that we can discuss parenting and focus on the rights of the Nigerian child. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Once again, a happy Children's Day to our children. So let's talk about the aviation industry. Before the assumption of office, the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace, Festus Keyamo, had held sway as Minister of State for Labor. And some people thought then that he wasn't able to really show what he got because he had a substantive minister he had to report to. But now, about a year ago, he got the appointment. And what would you say that he's done in terms of deliverables, better put, within the aviation sector?
All right, I think that, so I also listened to the distinguished guests. I would like to consider it from a slightly different perspective without making excuses for whatever duration ministers are held sway for. I think that the first thing that we should consider is what are the wins that we probably see. If we want to match them by incidents, I think that we may lose sight of a couple of wins that we have right there. Let's discuss airpeace, for example. If we are looking at the aviation industry, let's discuss the fact that somehow we have successfully been able to crash the travel price for Nigerians to be able to travel abroad, specifically on the Lagos-London route and then the Abuja-London route. And then, of course, there are talks going on as between the Lagos-United States route. I think that we should look at how we can build on what is happening right there. Before now, a lot of funds and a lot of government policies have been channeled towards having a national carrier. The former Minister for Aviation is presently before the courts over allegations of appropriating funds together with his family members. These are components of how we can measure what is happening with our aviation industry. There are local airlines being investigated for safety issues and all of that. And I think that we can build on all of this and chart a trajectory for our aviation industry rather than just believe that the aviation minister can make magic happen like that in one day. So what do I say? I look at airpeace and I say, what can we build on that?
All right, so not a bad perspective. We will all agree with you, to the fact that the sector has been bedeviled by loads and loads of challenges from all sides. Now, so let's look at your perspective. If we have to place the aviation sector right on your table and say, tell us exactly what the real challenges are within the aviation sector, so we can begin to understand what the minister had not done or what he should be doing.
All right, Lina, if you can hear me just one moment, we'll be with you in just a moment. And let's also let you know that, Ada, thanks for joining us. We'll be allowing our people to join us in the conversation. Ada, good morning.
I'm in tune with what your guest said there. There's nothing happening in that ministry. And then let us stop this excuse of just barely a year. When it comes to the people that have performed, about 4 other ministries that I know that have performed within a year, we will now talk about it. But for now, nothing is happening there. It's too much noise. That is what is happening there. As far as I'm concerned, there's no scorecard for that particular ministry, the Ministry of Aviation, whatever you call it.
All right. So Ada, before you go, because the score now is put at 10. You're saying it is 0 for aviation sector. Is that what you meant?
You mean if I want to talk?
We can't get you.
Score out of 10?
4. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Score out of 10. It's 3 out of 10.
3 out of 10. Okay. All right. So David, let's go back to our case. Thank you.
Well, 3 out of 10, there was some motion. And thank you for your time. Thank you for calling in. Let's keep the calls coming. It is a scorecard on News Up where we rate the performances of ministers. We're looking at the aviation sector. Yes, let's speak to you, our guest. You just listened to our first caller. She rates the aviation ministry 3 out of 10. I did ask you exactly what do you think are the real issues with the aviation sector, so we can begin to speciate on what the minister should do and what he didn't do.
You cannot diverge the aviation sector from the state of the economy. I think Nigerians should determine what they want. And we keep saying this over and over again. With respect to priorities, I'm a distinguished alum of the School of Politics, Policy and Governance, founded by Dr. Obi Ezekwesili. And over the last 3 years, we've been trying to examine whether it's even viable for a nation to have a national carrier at this time, an African nation to have a national carrier. Don't forget that we have the AFTA agreement, which is on the corridors of the region, where we are thinking of strengthening national services that can serve the continent. So what do Nigerians want with respect to aviation? That's a question to ask. Are we looking at, and the value chain is long, are we looking at the airports? Are we looking for better and more conducive services so that when you are flying in, you don't want to spend 4 hours on the queue? The immigration has a direct link to the aviation industry. Can we have electronic process where we don't have to have our passports examined? We have to educate Nigerians to consider there are several components to the aviation sector. Are we talking about the airlines and the pricing for tickets? Are we talking about the maintenance of our air flights? Is that what we are thinking about? I was excited when I was invited this morning because the first thing, it's a win, first of all, that for the first time, Nigerians can take control of how much you pay for air tickets. market, when there is an enormous pressure on the naira and you have to use forex, you have to weaken the naira to get forex to pay for a service that is taken off from your country. Airpeace has come to demystify that and to totally erode the monopolistic hegemony that we've had before now. That is a win for that level of the aviation industry. So we must educate Nigerians. So there's the level of how much you pay for tickets. There's another level for the options you have. And then all of a sudden, guess what happened? Other international carriers crashed their own prices. I don't think that we cannot applaud the aviation minister for giving the right business environment to Airpeace to make sure that Airpeace is not shut down. Had it been, had the aviation ministry not stood on its toes, then very easily Airpeace could have been blown out of the market and Airpeace will no longer be there. But all of a sudden, without having to expend money, huge sums of money on establishing a national carrier, we've got a private enterprise that has the backing of the government and is there in the market. So that's a level that we are looking at. Is the caller talking about our airport experience? That's another kettle of fish altogether. Are we saying that, we want to be more comfortable in our airports? I agree 100%. Incidentally, I've not been in any Nigerian airport in the last 2 years. So I don't know what the experience is like, but the experience was bad. So are we looking at our airports? It would have been good to look at what our airports look like today. The Lagos Murtala Mohammed Airport. Do we still have power outages? Are people still checking in with torchlights? I've been part of that experience before, even in Delta State. There are several airports all over the country where governors are expending funds and they are not viable. Those are the factors that we should be considering, not look at the industry on a holistic level and then use only one component to rate the minister. I think it's unfair. I think it's impracticable, and it will not be able to highlight these challenges that I have been able to identify for us to address them.
Olinka, some people will disagree with you, and we're expecting to have the calls on the show today. Victor is still very much in the studios. We wanted this scorecard for the Minister for Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo. Ada called in to give him a 3 out of 10. What you mentioned a couple of things you said he did, but let's ask Victor his views are regards to how much the aviation sector is faring under Keyamo. All right, Victor, some would say Keyamo is a lawyer, all right? So necessarily, it would have to really depend on what the civil service structure that really understands the dynamics of aviation industry would let him in on. Level also up on things he will have to read up on and then consult to know, because he's not an aviation expert. Do you think this has an impact on the level of delivery that the minister is churning out at the moment?
Well, I think that Nigerians would also say that, the way Nigeria trains you, if you are groomed in Nigeria, you can do anything and fix yourself in anywhere. But I disagree, because Minister Festus Keyamo personally is someone I respect a lot, is a son. And I don't joke with those, I don't joke with someone like him.
So because of that, you'll be biased?
No,
what you're saying?
I'm not biased. I'm not biased about this. But I'm saying, Madam Ada was very fair. 3. No, I won't give him 3. I will give him less than 3. If not being for the fact that he went through all the airports and all of that, took pictures and did videos and all of that, for me, I tell you, the facts on the ground, this is the same sector that we were told that the president's presidential jet had issue with the president, the same sector, vice president, under how many months this is what is going on. This is the same sector that a plane was ready to take off with over 200 and something Nigerians inside that craft. But an issue was discovered and then they halted it. What happened to the check? Why didn't they check this technically before people boarded that plane? The sector, for me, it is talk and zero action. What are the policies? I put it to my very well-informed friend. Let him line out the policies. The business between Airpeace is a private sector. It was a business decision that Mr. Onyema took in order to be competitive with international carriers. It has nothing. Airpeace is not a national carrier for Nigeria. Come on, Nigeria. My grandmother cannot use Airpeace.
All right, Mr. Inka, you want to respond to this? He's saying it's not all about airpeace or some other issues you've reeled out to be counted as achievements under this administration's aviation sector. How do you respond to that?
I find it very interesting, which is what I'm saying. I always ask, what do Nigerians want? So when we are doing this scorecard, let us build the parameters. Okay, we are marking these parameters as regards this. What marks? Okay, so if we say aircraft safety, okay, if we are saying governance structures, and I believe that my colleague in the studio is talking about governance when he talks about safety, okay, health and safety. So governance, do we have the rules? Are they in place? Are they being enforced? Those are the questions they will be asking. Okay, are we looking at FAN? We have NCE, okay, are we going to rejig the structure? Those are the questions we should be asking. So let's build parameters without using sentiments. My colleague has said that his grandma, I lost both my grandma a long time ago. They didn't ever get to fly the plane. So he's saying his grandma cannot use airpiece. It's not a national carrier. We make that mistake. Governments have absolutely no business in doing business. And that must ring true. Governments have no business in doing business. However, governments have the responsibility of ensuring that there's an enabling environment for businesses. Did not buy plane. You can't go and buy plane and put it in the market and say, I am running an airline. You have to operate under BASA agreements. What agreements are in place? If the ministry did not make those slots available for airpeace to be able to plug into, airpeace will not fly. Every airline wants to become an international carrier, but you need to go through your federal ministry. And that is what, for the first time, that's what airpeace has enjoyed. And if we're asking about national carrier, which was where I started from, let's not be sentimental. What's the viability? Why carry billions of dollars? Go and ask Sirika, where all we got for over 170 million naira was in Lubu. When we could have improved the business environment for airpeace to thrive, why can't we allow our private sector to thrive? Virgin Atlantic and even the British Airways is part owned by Qatari companies. That shows how we can improve the private sector to play a prominent role in the business environment. So let's be clear. What do Nigerians want in the aviation industry? Can we talk about it? Take them one after the other and read this narration against it. As far as I am concerned, I am happy for airpeace because policies also kill businesses. This business could have died. We've got, how many airlines have we got that have come and gone? Quite a number of them. They've changed hands, management have changed hands, whereas we have not been able to see value. For the first time, an airline will say to you that it is fully booked all year round and you are paying naira. I stopped being able to travel to Nigeria when the air ticket became 750,000 naira. Now, if you want to fly even Morocco and you are going to go, or you want to go through Turkey, Istanbul, where you are going to wait for 15 hours upwards of that, you would have had to pay 2 million naira before this FP's development. So, for those living in the diaspora and those traveling, doing businesses, they have to hail this development. Let's not sit in our homes when we don't understand what is going on and then just throw shades. Let us examine the parameters and be able to mark ourselves and benchmark ourselves against them. Thank you.
Question you asked. You said, what are Nigerians' expectations from the aviation sector, which I think is a good place, to ride this conversation, to drive this conversation. Now, Nigerians would want to see a seamless travel system. Nigerians would be expecting reduced airfare. Nigerians would expect to have a good runway, wider runways for the travel. Nigerians would want to go to the airport and don't have to use their touchlights to find their ways around. Nigerians would want to have a perfect aerospace navigating system. These are some of the things that Nigerians would want to have. The big question now is, do we have all of that in our aviation sector? Well, we have a caller. Just hold on, Oluyinka. Let's speak with this caller. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir. And God bless you for your good work.
Good morning. What's your name?
I appreciate our children today, first of all, our greater tomorrows. And thank God for their upkeep. In Jesus' mighty name I pray, amen. Now, permit me to start with our president's 1 year in the office. Let's not be biased. Life first. I commend his being alive today, yes. But most important is his done exploit, yes. But I must not appreciate that we are suffering in this country of today, and monies are being wasted on projects that can be kept aside for now until we get on our feet again. Our young man over there is saying a lot that makes sense. Because we have people that can do all of this here in this country. Why are we wasting our little resources we are managing to gather? I must still say it with my honest and my full chest. This coastal road is just uncalled for now. It's going to help, no doubt. But for now, I need to simple step my common Nigerian sense that doesn't even have. I scared to make people happy. People are suffering. Can God enter our presence to just have a rethink? They can still hold on that coastal job for now. I mean for now. They could still go on for now.
All right, madam. If you can hear us, I mean, all of your expressions, everything very valid this morning. Everything that we're discussing on the scorecard will reflect what you are saying as a Nigerian, which is what we want all Nigerians to do. And that's why their voices really count on the scorecard. Our focus this morning, if this what one of the ministries to pay attention to, sectors to pay attention to, is the aviation industry. What's your take on that? If you have to rate the minister's performance in the last about a year, what score would you give him between 0 and 10?
That's what I'm saying. I'm scoring him. He's so much far.
Okay, I didn't get that.
I didn't get that.
Your score again. We didn't get it. 5. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your contribution on the show. Your voice counts. We're counting down to see. We're looking for the top 5 ministers under this administration within the next 1 year. They have just about a month or so to clock 1 year proper in office. But the president will be marking the first anniversary on May 29th. So your voice counts on the show between 0 and 10. How would you rate the ministers today? The focus is on the aviation ministry. Yinka, let's come back to you at this point in time. Now, some would say, just as you mentioned earlier on, it's easy for us to come and say, what have ministers done? But remember that each of them has a mandate to fulfill so that the president will succeed based on the promises he made to the electorate. And so we'll say it's not too early to really see how much they fare. So I'll come to you in just a moment. Let me come to Victor in the studios. Victor, right now, some would say, look, the president himself, maybe the policies that he's churning out, but one of the reasons you have ministers who are your lieutenants is for them to advise you on the best decisions to take per time concerning every sector. What do you see around the aviation sector? You think the right advisors are there, the right policies in place? Are they get towards making the aviation industry better for us?
The policies are not the right policies. They're not the right policies. And you can, some people would agree with me that policies fine on papers. Implementation is a problem where the rubber meets the road. So for me, the policies are not a pro-people policies.
Which of them don't you like?
No. If you're trying Siraki Dixon, former aviation minister, you're trying Sirika. You should then do better. The guy fronted a national carrier, just got an airline and put up Air Nigeria and all of that. You should do something better. Introduce a national carrier. My colleague said, oh, why do you need a national carrier? We need a national carrier because the fares will be subsidized for Nigerians so that anybody and everybody, son of nobody, daughter of nobody, can use national carrier. Then the big man like himself, maybe like the both of you, can then use the private airline, and that works. We need people-centered policies that we know in a short time. There are low-hanging fruits that we can pick up in the aviation industry, aviation sector, if you have the right guys. Yes, the president is as good as his ministers, you're as good as your advisors, you're as good as your friends, the people you surround yourself with. So for me, if you open the phone lines, as it is been now, you have enough time, you will know that viewers will tell you that the Nigerians